As an only child, I spent a lot of time alone just because my mother had to work. I was a single parent household. My parents divorced when I was 3. Her mode was to make sure that I was safe, happy, and healthy, and she worked. My mother was also a creative person. She was a seamstress, not by training, just by love. And so I came from people who made things. And I think that's where I got that seed. That's where it's kind of planted in me. In architecture, I was drawn to it. Actually, I say it's from the Brady Bunch. So Mike Brady was an architect. And I remember he did this puff building, like it was supposed to be like some kind of compact. And I was thinking, oh, I can do better than that. So I was like, okay, let me investigate architecture. My mother and I would drive around DC and look at like the nice homes in the Tony areas of the city. And so I had an appreciation for what beauty was aesthetically for the built environment, right? So after I graduated from architecture school, I realized I didn't want to be an architect. The first job that I got out of school was working for a museum exhibit designer and lighting designer. All the elements that I learned in architecture school, I could apply to lighting. But at the same time, I was also telling stories as I was designing lighting. You know, like the kitchen wants to be this type of thing. The living room wants to tell this kind of story. One of my major projects that I'm very proud about, and it still exists, is for the African Voices exhibit at the National Museum of Natural History, Smithsonian in DC. So I was the lead designer on that project. That was a whole reinstallation of the Natural History Museum's Africa Hall. And so I worked with a series of Africanists, historians, anthropologists, curators to retell that story of what the African continent means to this planet. And I marked that project as a project that changed my life because I learned about my African heritage and I became proud of who I came from. By learning about the beauty of the African continent, the cultures that are there, I started thinking about myself differently. I had agency, I had confidence, and it did change my life. I started making my own art only 2.5 years ago, so I consider myself an emerging artist. And I started making it because I realized that I do have something to say. I have these years of experience as a Black woman in America, and that's what my art is. It's autobiographical. It visually addresses the plight I have as a Black woman in America. This is my second residency that I've done. When I was in Santa Fe Art Institute in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I met artist who said, oh, you need to go to the VCCA. It's like, you live in Central Virginia, you need to go to VCCA. So while I'm here at the VCCA, I wanted to further or extend a couple of projects that I started. All right, to the machine. It's called The Language of Invisibility, and it talks about my exploits of invisibility as a Black woman in America. So there are 4 felt bulletin boards with Black text on these Black bulletin boards. And they have things like, oh, you didn't see me simply because you refused to see me. And so there's kind of like Black on Black language. I started as a rhythm. And I took that and I extended that to another piece that I'm doing with Black armbands, where I am embroidering the names of Black women that have been erased in our society, and their names are embroidered using Black thread onto these Black armbands. I think growing up in a very misogynistic family, patriarchal, but also strong women. I remember asking my mother, does grandma work? Does grandma work? And my mother said, what do you mean, outside the home? Because she definitely works inside the home. Okay, here we go. So the project that I have a mock-up of it on the wall, it's called That's Pops' Money. And that title comes from one of my uncles, actually my grandmother's oldest child. When my mother said, I need to do something with mama's money, and my uncle said, no, that's not mama's money, that's Pops' money. And that phrase just sparked this piece because my uncle basically is saying the pension that my grandmother received after my grandfather's death was not her money. That was Pops' money, my grandfather. And I decided to chronicle the 67 years of marriage by creating one time card for each month of those 67 years, which comes out to 804 time cards. And it's blue ink on black paper, so it's like blue ink for the blue collar labor. On black paper, so it's very subtle, almost invisible, like my grandmother's labor. So it starts in 1939 when my grandparents were married and ends in 2006 when my grandfather died. What I want people to get from my work is that it's not a unique or a phenomenon that me as a Black woman, I'm invisible. I am happy that I have given myself permission to become a visual artist, to then say that I have important enough things to say that I'm going to share with the public. But I had to give myself permission to be that. I believe that art should be accessible to anyone who wants to approach it, look at it, make it, live with it. It meant a lot for VCCA to accept me and say that, yes, you are worthy to have space and time here. I'm here for a month. It's so great. So we believe in you that we're going to give you this time to make work. That makes me feel validated. That makes me feel like I have something to say, somebody wants to hear it.